Hello, friends. Let's quickly go through uh, the demo for the expense module. So this is where we go to the expense module. So before that, um, I'll quickly show you and the admin section as to uh, how do we set up the expense module. So basically, the information required for the expense module is obviously we would require uh, the project information, basically where you want to allocate the expenses. So here is where you can add various projects, and it can be then the expenses can be allocated uh, to that particular project. So that's set up at the admin level. And then obviously we can also set up various categories for your expenses. So this is where we set up. So this will be as per your expense policy. The various categories of expenses is something which you can set up, and you can also have a predefined rate for the car and bike if the employees are going to use their own vehicles. So here is where we are adding different categories of expenses, and we can also define the tax percentage and the tax heads out here. And these are the various projects where you can restrict uh, we can put a budget amount for a particular project, and so it will not exceed that particular amount. If we put in the restrictions on the budget amount, for it can be done project wise. So essentially this is how we set up the expense module. Okay, so now let's quickly go through how the expenses would be viewed from the employee perspective. So our expenses are divided into four broad categories: are the business expenses, the local travel expenses, the trip expenses, and the flexi. Flexi expenses is nothing but it's a reimbursement component if it's a part of your CTC. So for so many companies for uh, based on their tax planning, they have some flexi components. So this is how you can manage the flexi components from the administrative perspective. So let's go on to the business expenses. Here is where you can put in the transaction date, the purpose, or any kind of note. If you want to put in, you can select the categories which we have defined at the master level. You can allocate to a particular project, put the merchant name. Now, this is something also defined at the master level. So if you're not in India, then you can actually put in, you can change the currency out here, then and then put in the amount out here, and you can upload the supportings. Now, all this is also present in the mobile app, which you can see the mobile app video, which is recorded separately. So that's your business expenses. Then you go into local travel expenses. So here is where you can. This is a travel within the city. Put the transaction date. Put the purpose. Select. The mode of transport or the mode of travel. So if you are traveling by train, auto, cab, Ola, Uber, just put others. But if you are traveling by own vehicle, then you can just put in say car, and you can have a predefined rate, which I showed you at the master level. Now this is linked to Google Maps, right? So you can just put in location A, to location B, and it will give you the exact number of kilometers. So anyone uh, traveling within the city and using their own vehicle, you just have to put in location A to B, and it will give you the exact kilometers, right? So you don't really break your head with the accounts department out here. So that's your local travel expenses. Then this is your trip expenses. Now, if you are traveling outside the city, then you can have this trip expenses. You can start with your advance request. So for a particular trip, if you want say X amount before you travel, you can request for that, and it will go for an approval. Once you're back, then you can give your supportings On you can upload all your travel related supportings. You can upload your accommodation related supportings and any other expense which you have incurred on the trip. Right? So that's your trip expenses. And finally, it's the flexi expenses. So here is where the one which I was talking about is a part of your CTC. It's a reimbursement component. So you can upload your supportings on a monthly basis. So that's your expense management module. We'll go to the team section to just quickly show you. This is where the manager is able to approve the request. Yeah, so as a manager, I'm able to approve or reject out here. Okay. Thank you very much.